Everybody, this is Chris, and I got a special guest right next to us. Not only is this man, I consider a local music legend, a drummer, a man who can keep a good line in a song, but also a comic book artist, or actually, I would say comic book writer.
Right.
That's right, comic book writer. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Mark Reznicek from the
Thank you.
Toadies. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, awesome. Let's talk quickly about your book here. Let's talk, we'll jump into the deep end first. Let's talk Buzzkill, your new book. Tell us about it.
Buzzkill is published by Dark Horse Comics. It's about a superhero who gets his powers from drinking alcohol and doing drugs. And it opens with him in a AA meeting. So he's trying to get sober, but he realizes that he'll no longer be able to be a superhero if he stops drinking. So it's kind of about the inner conflict, and it eventually becomes an outer conflict when his archenemies find out that he's depowered, so they're going to team up and kick his ass.
Oh, wow. Now, and reading the book, normally we would talk about superhero powers. You get your powers from, the sun or a mysterious ring on your hand or magic or something. You're tackling this a little bit different. You're bringing in the concept of chemical addiction as the genesis of this character's powers.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of different. I mean, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think everyone who's been drunk kind of knows that feeling of I'm unbeatable, So we extrapolated that and said, what if that was real, or as real as a comic book gets, Yeah, and we've actually gotten some response, like from rehab centers and stuff, where they appreciated that we weren't taking it lightly and treating the subject matter seriously, and so that made us feel like we were doing our job right.
And that's definitely a good thing, because some people could play it up for camp and play it up tongue in cheek, but you guys have been deadly serious about it. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it seemed like it would be the easy way out to play it for laughs, and I think that might make a fun, entertaining series. Superhero who gets drunk and then flies out on patrol, but this isn't that.
No, sir. Well, let's now we were kind of discussing this a little while ago about your influences. I mean, you were mentioning to me influenced by the greats like Jack Kirby, Brian Michael Bendis, Matt Fraction, guys like that.
Yeah. I've been reading comics my whole life, so from my childhood up till the present day, I think, every comic I've read somehow goes into the stew of influences, So there's just everybody that, that I've enjoyed throughout the years. I wouldn't dare compare myself to them, but it's all up there, in the hopper.
Well, and I'm kind of curious myself, and kind of asking, just of the current comics besides your own, what would you consider your current favorite reads?
I'm really almost anything that Bendis writes, I'm a fan of. I followed his Avengers pretty avidly, and he switched over to X-Men recently, so the all-new X-Men is great, where they bring, the original X-Men from the past into the present. That's a good one. All of his books are good. I really like Matt Fraction's new Hawkeye book. Really, it's one of the better books on the stands, I think.
No, I've getting that from you, because one of our fellow team members is a fan of that book, of the new Hawkeye, and I've kind of tongue in cheek with her a little bit about doing an issue about a dog and a dog's perspective, but
it's great. It's one of the better issues of the series.
Yeah,
too.
it's the dog just kind of like up here. No, I'm definitely going to I'm going to take your advice and read that.
You should.
I should.
It's a good book.
This man knows his stuff. Well, and kind of going, going into kind of more, well, we're going to kind of spare you a little bit with music, so I'm sorry about this.
It's all right.
Let's talk. Of course, we also mentioned you're pretty much the drummer of the Toadies since. Well, I mean, of course, you're the drummer that everyone knows from the band. You've been with them for over 20 years, and
Yep.
you've done a lot, you've seen a lot, you've played a lot. Let's talk. I kind of want to delve in this a little bit because you were kind of there at that. I like to call it that nexus point of the Dallas Denton kind of '90s music scene, where Fort Worth I should throw into too as well, where everything just kind of all of a sudden just kind of exploded. What was that like? I mean, just being during that era.
Oh, it was awesome. It was like a golden age of, awesome music. It seemed like, every band from the DFW and Denton area was just, they were all at the top of their form at the time, and I actually paid tribute to a couple of my favorites from back then in the Buzzkill comic. There's a villain named Baboon and one named Brutal Juice.
Two of my favorite bands from the '90s.
And so those are friends of mine and awesome bands. So it was great. I mean, back in the day, I could walk into any bar in Deep Ellum, and there'd be one of my friends' bands playing, and I'd know the bartenders, so I could drink free. So it was a good time to be in a rock and roll band.
Oh man, now with your own band, with the Toadies, I mean, you guys have had your fair share of, like, I would say, kind of comic ups, comic adventures, both up and down. I mean, you did Rubberneck, and that took you guys to like astronomical heights, and of course,
way more successful than we ever thought or planned it would be. Like I remember after we had recorded it, sitting around with the other people in the band and somebody saying, if we could sell as many copies as the latest PJ Harvey album, we'll be doing good. And I think he threw a number like 50,000, and like that seemed like an unattainable number. Like we were joking, we'll never sell that many, but that's something to shoot for. And then we just stayed on tour for like 2 years, and slowly we eventually sold over 1 million copies, and like it was kind of shocking, but it happened so gradually. You couldn't call it overnight success.
Well, true. I mean, but you toured with a lot of different bands during that time. I mean,
we got to open for Red Hot Chili Peppers, White Zombie. Did a tour with the Butthole Surfers, Bush.
I think one of the first times I saw you guys was a show, and I want to make sure I'm not having good old days syndrome here. I'm just combining things together. I saw you I think you guys were at Annette Strauss Square downtown. I think you opened for the Surfers.
Yeah.
I was at that show, yeah.
Yeah, we did a whole tour. It was a co-headlining tour, but they played last, so yeah,
right.
We were opening for them, and the whole tour. The Reverend Horton Heat was also on the bill, and Super Suckers. So that was a pretty all-star lineup for mid to late '90s.
I still bands I listen to this day. I mean, I'm showing my age just a little bit. I grew. That was my high school years, and I grew up just turning on the radio and hearing just awesome music coming out, and
that was a good time for radio. Like mainstream rock and roll radio, like was actually good and worth listening to in those days. Before the whole rap metal stuff started coming out.
Yeah.
And all the crappy stuff.
Yeah, all the return of the bubble gum, which was horrible.
Yeah. So.
Well, and I know, like, as I mentioned, like with the Toadies, you guys had your own kind of epic thing happen with you. I mean, you released after that success of Rubberneck, you kind of, you kind of hit a little bit of a bump there for a little bit.
Yeah, what had happened was after the album was released in '94, then we were on tour, promoting the record for two and a half years. And during that time, we really any new songs we wrote during that time, we like put on like soundtracks or compilations. So by the time we got off tour, we really didn't have any material for a second album. So we started writing songs and recording demos and stuff. We eventually recorded our second album, and it should have come out in '98, but it was rejected by our label because I don't think they heard Possum Kingdom Part 2 on there. We just didn't want to, we didn't want to rehash, we're always, writing new stuff. We're not trying to duplicate stuff we've done in the past. So anyway, by the time the album was eventually released, it had been 7 years, since the last album, so all of our momentum was kind of
petered out in a way.
yeah, and we did a tour for that second album, Hell Below, Stars Above, and it almost felt like starting over, like smaller venues than we had been playing, and I think our bass player just got fed up and she quit, and then like a day or two later, we just decided all of us were going to call it quits.
Because I remember hearing that story about Lisa Umbacher just, kind of hanging up her bass and just she had enough and washed her hands and walked away.
That was pretty much it.
That was, it was a shock. I mean, because I knew she had been with you guys since the beginning. And
yep, she was one of the original 3 people that started the band.
Yeah.
She was just done, and then I guess we decided we were done too. But then a few years later, we were asked to get back together to play a St. Patty's Day show on Greenville Avenue in Dallas.
I was at that show.
And there was 10 or 15,000 people there, and then we did it again the following year, and so we decided, hey, there might be something to this. So in 2008, we recorded and released another album, and we just kept on doing it. We're still doing it.
One thing I noticed about that, especially with that album, is that the album in 2001, it came back because of social media, because people said, we found these tracks, we want to hear this, we want to put it back online. That was kind of one of those early, kind of what I call social media successes, was you guys.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Weird.
But it's, and of course you guys are now on a new label. You're doing still doing some amazing rock and roll.
Yep.
And
thank you.
I love it. You guys are still in my playlist, and I listen to you guys at least once a day. So, guys.
Bless you.
Oh well, hey, let's talk quickly, because I know you got to get back to the floor to do some signings here. What is not only we could talk both as one. You could do this however you'd like. We could do what's the future for the band, and what's the future for you doing comics?
As far as the Toadies are concerned, next year is the 20th anniversary of Rubberneck. So we're planning to reissue the album on vinyl and other formats. Probably going to remaster the sound and include a whole bunch of bonus material that was recorded around that time. And then do a tour where we play the whole album in sequence, which that's what everybody's doing nowadays.
Yeah, that's kind of where everybody's going out banding. We're gonna, like you see, Rush, they do like one album in the whole sequence. Yeah. I think, personally, that's Rubberneck is one of those great albums that just is great, one song after another. It was, and of course, and
we basically play all of those songs in concert still anyway.
I gotta ask this, because you get it with a lot of bands, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna play, our certain, we like to play certain songs, but we don't like to play certain songs. Is there a song that you guys just like, you really love playing every show?
I like playing I Burn a lot, because we usually have like other guest percussionists come up and play, extra toms and stuff like that. So you never know who's going to be on stage with us during that one, and it's just kind of a tribal kind of, big rock moment. Nice. So that one's, they're all pretty fun to one degree or another.
Let me kind of flip that over on the opposite. Is there one song, and because I've heard this from other artists, is there that one song that you guys have played over and over again. You're kind of like, I kind of want to put that back and not play that for a while.
There are. I don't think anything from Rubberneck fits that bill. Like, I think back in the '90s for a while we were tired of playing Possum Kingdom, but nowadays, like, you know, as soon as we hit the opening notes of the song, the whole crowd erupts, and it's a blast just to see that, you know, and it's one that we've played so many thousands of times that I can just kind of shut my brain off and just enjoy the moment as it's happening, you know. So that's kind of enjoyable. But there is a song called "Song I Hate" from our No Deliverance album that is pretty much named after the fact that all of us kind of hate to play. The crowd seems to enjoy it, but we're all just kind of burned out on it.
Well, you know, you always got to, you know, cycle through the catalog a little bit, you know,
Right.
and what you enjoy, and
Somebody's least favorite song is somebody else's favorite. You know?
It's kind of like me.
Yeah.
It's like I love, you know, it's there's and well, anywho, this is amazing. Again, first, guys, some news here. 20th anniversary of Rubberneck coming out in 2014. Mark Reznicek, you are amazing. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on and doing this. And guys, keep on nerding. We'll see you guys later, and adios.
Bye.
Bye.